So, I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing something like this online, but here I am. If you told me a year ago that I'd be spilling my guts to strangers on the internet about betrayal and heartbreak, I would have laughed in your face. My marriage wasn't perfect, sure, but I honestly believed we were solid. We'd been together for 6 years, married for 3, and I thought I knew her better than anyone. Looking back, the first cracks were subtle, so subtle that I brushed them off. She started spending more time on her phone, laughing at texts that I wasn't part of, brushing it off as just a meme from a coworker. She stayed late at work more often, and when I asked if everything was okay, she'd give me this tired smile and say she just had a lot on her plate. I convinced myself it was nothing. I even blamed myself, thinking maybe I hadn't been attentive enough, maybe I'd gotten too comfortable. You know, the usual excuses you make when you don't want to face what your gut is screaming. At that point, I had no idea how far things would spiral. But something in me, some tiny, buried instinct, already knew that the ground beneath me was about to crack wide open. The moment everything shifted wasn't dramatic at first. It was stupid, almost laughable. One night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to shower. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at it. I trusted her. But the screen lit up, and a message preview popped up. It wasn't even the words that got me. It was the heart emoji at the end. Something in my stomach dropped. My hands actually shook when I picked it up. I know, going through someone's phone is a line. But when you feel your world tilting, logic doesn't exactly show up to stop you. I didn't even have to scroll far. There it was. Conversations that were too flirty, too personal, too intimate to be just a coworker. I remember standing in the kitchen, heart pounding so loud I thought I might pass out, rereading the same line over and over. I can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect. It felt like someone had knocked the air out of me. I wasn't angry yet, just stunned. Like my brain couldn't compute what my eyes were telling me. This was my wife. The woman I shared a bed with. The woman I thought had my back. I put the phone down right where I found it, walked to the sink, and just stared at my reflection in the dark window. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't crazy. The signs were real. When she came out of the shower that night, I had every intention of blowing up. I had the words lined up in my head. Who is he? How long has this been going on? But the second I looked at her, wrapped in her towel, humming like nothing was wrong, I froze. I don't even know why. Maybe it was shock, maybe fear of hearing the truth spoken out loud. Instead of asking, I swallowed it. I just sat there on the couch, pretending to scroll my phone, while inside my chest felt like a ticking bomb. She kissed me on the cheek, asked if I wanted tea, and I just muttered no. That was it. That was our evening. I laid awake next to her that night, staring at the ceiling, feeling like an idiot. She slept soundly, phone tucked under her pillow. That was the first time I realized betrayal doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it creeps into your bed quietly, curling up between you and the person you love, and you can't even find the courage to push it away. The next morning, I promised myself I'd confront her soon. But soon turned into a week. And in that week, I learned things I wasn't ready for. That week, I thought I was losing my mind. I'd go to work, pretend to be fine, but every little thing made me suspicious. A late text, a sudden shower after drinks with coworkers. I was stuck in this limbo where I knew but didn't know. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from someone I never expected, her best friend. Not a casual acquaintance, but the friend she told everything to. We weren't super close, but we got along. The text was short. Hey, I don't know how to say this, but you deserve to know the truth. My stomach dropped. I called her immediately. Her voice was shaky, like she was about to betray her own loyalty. And in a way, she was. She told me she couldn't stand watching it anymore. My wife had been sneaking around with a guy from work for months. Not just texts, not just flirting. The whole thing. Dinners, hotel rooms, even skipping work to spend the day with him. I felt my knees go weak, like I might actually collapse. It's one thing to suspect. It's another thing to hear it confirmed by someone who was there. That night, I didn't sleep. But this time, it wasn't because of doubt. It was because I finally knew the ugly truth. Once the truth was out in the open, something in me snapped. The shock gave way to a cold, sharp anger I didn't even know I was capable of. I wasn't going to sit in the dark anymore. I needed proof. Not for anyone else, but for myself. So I did something I never imagined I'd do. I set a trap. One Friday night, she told me she was working late. Normally, I'd stay home, stew in silence, maybe drink too much and scroll aimlessly. But this time, I followed my gut. Literally. I got in my car, parked near her office, and waited. Sure enough, around 8:30, she walked out, not alone. He was with her. Some tall guy I'd never seen before. They didn't look like co-workers heading out after a long day. They looked like a couple. The way she tilted her head back laughing, the way his hand brushed her lower back, it was a knife twisting in my chest. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I just sat there in the dark, gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands cramped. Watching the two of them drive off together was like watching my entire life slip through my fingers. That's when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't innocent. And it sure as hell wasn't going to stop on its own. The next morning, I couldn't fake it anymore. I'd watched enough. My hands were shaking, my chest felt tight, but I knew it had to come out. She was making coffee in the kitchen, humming like she always did. I walked in, sat at the table, and just said it. I know about him. The mug slipped right out of her hand and shattered on the floor. She didn't even try to deny it. Her eyes filled with tears instantly, and she just kept repeating, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. But all I did was sit there, numb. I asked her how long. She whispered, 6 months. 6 months of lies. 6 months of me lying next to her in bed, thinking we were okay. The worst part? She said she still loved me. She said it just happened, that she never meant to hurt me. I couldn't even process the words. How do you accidentally betray someone every week for half a year? I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just told her to pack a bag and leave for the weekend. I needed space, or I was going to lose my mind completely. When the door shut behind her, the silence in the house was unbearable. That was the moment it really hit me. My marriage wasn't just cracked, it was broken. The weekend she left, I wandered around the house like a ghost. Every corner held some memory, some reminder of what we'd built and what she'd destroyed. Her shoes by the door, her jacket on the chair, even the stupid mug she always used for tea. It all felt poison now. Friends noticed I was off when I didn't show up to our usual Saturday hangout. I finally cracked and told one of them what was going on. The look on his face said it all. Shock, anger on my behalf, that awkward mix of what do I even say to you right now? And then came the texts from her. Dozens of them. Apologies, explanations, promises. She said she'd cut him off. She said she'd do therapy, that we could fix it. But here's the thing. Once the glass is shattered, it doesn't matter how much glue you use. It never looks the same again. And deep down, I knew I could never unsee that night in the parking lot. Still, I couldn't bring myself to make the final call yet. Divorce felt like jumping off a cliff. I just kept circling the edge, peering over, heart racing, wondering if I had the strength to actually leap. By Sunday night, she was back at the house, suitcase in hand, eyes swollen from crying. She didn't even try to touch me, just sat on the edge of the couch like a kid waiting for punishment. She begged, and I mean begged, said she'd cut him off completely, said she'd hand me her phone whenever I wanted, said she'd even quit her job if that's what it took. I sat there listening, but my chest felt hollow. Part of me wanted to believe her. After all, this was my wife. We had history, routines, inside jokes, plans. You don't just throw that away overnight, right? But another part of me, the louder part, kept flashing images of her with him. The texts, the hotel, the laugh that wasn't mine anymore. I told her I'd think about it. That was my bargain with myself. Don't make a decision in anger. Don't make a decision in pity. Just sit with it. But that night, lying in bed while she slept inches away, all I could think was, if she really loved me, how did this happen? And the scariest part? I didn't know if I wanted the answer. After that night, something inside me shifted. I couldn't keep waiting for her to prove herself. I needed to take back control of my own life, even if it meant tearing everything apart. So I started small. I hit the gym more often, not to get ripped but to burn off the anger buzzing in my chest. I stopped waiting around at home for her to come back from work. Instead, I'd go out with friends, or even just walk around the city at night. Anything to remind myself that my world was bigger than her betrayal. Then I took a bigger step. I contacted a lawyer. Just a consultation. Sitting in that office, hearing the words division of assets and separation timeline, it suddenly felt real. Terrifying, yes, but also freeing. I didn't tell her. Not yet. Instead, I played along with her attempts at rebuilding. The morning kisses, the texts during the day, the awkward, I love yous she forced out like band-aids over bullet holes. But inside, I was already halfway gone. For the first time since this nightmare started, I wasn't just reacting. I was planning my escape. Just when I thought I had things figured out, life decided to throw another punch. One night, she sat me down, looking pale and nervous. For a split second, I thought she was going to confess more lies. Instead, she dropped a bomb. She was pregnant. My brain short-circuited. Pregnant? With whose kid? Mine? His? I couldn't even form words at first. She rushed to say it was mine, that the timeline didn't match with him. But come on, how was I supposed to just take her word for it after months of betrayal? I felt my stomach twist. All those plans I had about quietly walking away suddenly got tangled up in something way bigger than me. If it was mine, could I really abandon a child because of her mistakes? If it wasn't mine, was I ready to face that kind of truth? That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, imagining two futures. One where I was a dad trapped in a broken marriage, and another where I walked away and carried the guilt of leaving a child behind. For the first time, the decision wasn't just about me anymore. The next few days were a haze. I kept going over everything in my head. The betrayal, the lies, the parking lot, the hotel, and now this bombshell. I felt trapped between anger, grief, and responsibility. I finally sat her down, really sat her down, and asked her to be honest, every detail. She broke down, crying harder than I'd ever seen. She admitted the pregnancy was mine, that she hadn't been thinking straight with him, that she knew she'd ruined everything. Hearing her own guilt so raw didn't make it easier. If anything, it made it heavier. I realized that forgiveness wasn't a switch I could flip. I didn't even know if I wanted to forgive her yet. But I also realized running away wasn't an option, not with a child involved. I couldn't just vanish and pretend it never happened. So, I made a choice. I would be there for the baby, but I wouldn't stay in the marriage for now. I needed time, space, and sanity before deciding what we meant. It wasn't easy. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff while someone shoved me forward. But for the first time in months, I felt like I had a tiny grip on my life again. Once I made that choice, life became a balancing act between heartbreak and responsibility. I focused on the baby, doctor's appointments, nursery planning, reading parenting books. It gave me purpose, a reason to keep moving forward instead of drowning in anger. At the same time, I rebuilt myself. I threw myself into work, started saving aggressively, even picked up hobbies I'd abandoned years ago. Small wins, like finishing a half marathon I never thought I could, reminded me that I wasn't powerless. Friends became my lifeline. I talked to them more honestly than I ever had. I let them in on my rage, my grief, my confusion. Their support made me realize something. Betrayal may break trust, but it doesn't have to break you. And strangely, through all this, I began to feel a quiet kind of hope. Life had hit me with the worst, but I was still standing. Still capable of loving, of caring, of making decisions that mattered. A few months later, one rainy afternoon, I was at the park watching her play with our baby. She was laughing, chasing after tiny feet, completely absorbed. And for a second, I felt something shift inside me. Not love for her, not yet, but clarity. I realized that my anger, my betrayal, all of it, didn't have to dictate my life anymore. I could protect what mattered most, the baby, without letting the past poison every moment. I could be present, loving, and strong without being blind to her mistakes. That clarity gave me power. I didn't need to forgive her yet. I didn't need to fix the marriage immediately. I just needed to focus on what I could control, my own actions, my own heart, and my own family. For the first time since the nightmare began, I felt like I could breathe again. Like the weight wasn't crushing me entirely. Sitting here now, months later, I realize how much this experience changed me. Infidelity, betrayal, heartbreak, they strip you down to your core. But surviving them also shows you what you're made of. I learned that anger is natural, but it can't be the compass for your life. I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over endless resentment. I learned that taking care of yourself first doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. Most importantly, I learned that life will throw you curveballs you never expected. You can't control everything, but you can control how you respond. That's where real power lies. I don't know what the future holds with her. Maybe we'll rebuild, maybe we won't. But I know I won't let anyone, not even her, dictate my worth or my happiness again. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Never give up on yourself. Life can hit you harder than you think. Betrayal, heartbreak, unexpected twists, but giving up is never the answer. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your emotions, your growth. Protect the people and things that truly matter, but don't let toxic relationships or past mistakes define your future. For me, that means being a father first, rebuilding my life, and learning to trust myself again. The marriage may or may not survive, but I'm standing taller than I ever imagined. I'm stronger, wiser, and more aware of my own worth. So if you're going through something similar, remember, it hurts now, but this pain doesn't last forever. You will rebuild. You will find peace. And one day, you'll look back and realize that surviving the storm made you unbreakable. Never give up, White Medium Star.